Cal Raleigh and Junior Caminero are projected to be borderline first-round picks in 2026. Let's talk about it on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fantasy baseball fanatics, I'm Dominic Martino, riding solo today, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Thank you to our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day and helping us get to the #1 sports podcast network. Matt and I are longtime fantasy baseball analysts, and between the two of us, there's over 40 years of fantasy baseball knowledge, and we do this podcast to share it with you. Wherever you watch and or listen to this podcast, please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. If you like what you hear, it does help us out a great amount. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. And guys, you did hear it correct up top. Listen, Cal Raleigh and Caminero so far are projected to be borderline first-round picks. We've got some early ADP up. We're going to be looking at that today and kind of breaking down, what I saw personally, things that I saw that are out of whack, things that I saw that we could take advantage of, and just a general look over of, 2026, drafting and how it's looking. So, the place where we're getting this ADP from, this draft, and, these drafts from is the NFBC, the National Fantasy Baseball Championship. A lot of early drafts go on there, big money leagues. And so far, 89 drafts have been done, and that's what we're going to be looking over today. I've got 5 bats lined up. I've got 5 arms lined up, and this is just can't miss content, especially if you're a fantasy baseball fanatic like myself. We're just going to get into it. And I just do want to mention up top, I am a little bit under the weather. So just excuse the little nasally tone I got going on, but I promise you, you're going to want to stick around. This is some great info. Let's start off with Cal Raleigh. And Cal Raleigh's a name I think I talked about, I want to say about 2 weeks ago or something like that. And this was before the early ADP. Somebody that I was talking about, I don't really think I'm going to have any shares of in 2026. And if this early ADP is any indication, it's not happening. Cal Raleigh is the 17th player coming off the board through 89 drafts so far. That's way too rich for my blood. He's the #1 catcher coming off the board, obviously. A couple players right after Cal Raleigh: Nick Kurtz, Kyle Tucker, Jackson Chourio, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and Jazz Chisholm. I will take all of those players over Raleigh. Raleigh was great last year. We know what he did, MVP candidate, hit 60 home runs. He was fantastic. I just don't see a world where, Cal Raleigh replicates that. It's going to be really, hard for him to even come close to those numbers. Even if he hits 40 home runs, I don't think he winds up with the borderline first round, early second round caliber numbers that it's going to take. Let's do this. Here's an early projection Baseball Reference has, and we're gonna go with that first, right? It's 615 plate appearances, so 535 at bats, 84 runs, 21 doubles, 39 bombs, 96 RBIs, 8 steals, 236 batting average. Now, that's a tremendous step back, and that is a decent projection there for, Cal Raleigh. I'm going to say that's possible, definitely possible. I just don't know if he's going to stay healthy enough to play in, that many games again. It's just weird to, talk bad about a guy who is as good as Raleigh is with the 60 home runs, 125 RBIs, 247 batting average last year. I just, like I said, don't foresee it. He's a career 226 guy. I think the batting average is going to be closer to that. The last 2 years before 2025, Raleigh hit 34 and 30 home runs respectively. So if Raleigh hits 35 home runs, has 85, 90 RBIs, and 85 runs with a 230 batting average, it's not borderline first round caliber talent. So I just don't think we get caught up in that, even though, Raleigh's good. And I'll say this. This is NFBC, big money leagues where, a lot of guys play differently than a lot of, people do in their home leagues. And I think we get a lot of, guys who mainly play in their home leagues that listen to this podcast. I don't know how many big money guys we have listening to this, podcast. And if you do, hey, listen, we appreciate it. But in your home league, I don't think catchers are going this high. In your home league, if Raleigh's going in the 5th round, let's say your average league is as a 10-man, home league where, I want to say, like I said, 5th round isn't atrocious. I'm not mad at that there. If you want to do that, I'm probably still not even drafting any catcher that high, but that's where I'd at least start thinking about it and start thinking it's okay. But at pick 17, where early ADP is projecting Cal Raleigh, can't do it. Too rich for my blood personally. Let's move on to somebody who I maybe agree with it a little bit more. Junior Caminero. He's coming off the board early ADP, pick 14 on average. I still feel like it's a little bit rich for my blood. And, I want to tell you guys, I've only been reviewing this early ADP the last couple of days. So I haven't gotten to, really deep dive and form, solid opinions on it. But if I had to take one of these guys, borderline first round pick, I feel way more comfortable. Caminero. Caminero is a 21-year-old, 154 games, 602 at-bats, 93 runs, 28 doubles, 45 home runs, 110 RBI, 7 steals, 264 batting average. The sky is a limit for the young Caminero. Was a top prospect, as little as last year, a couple of years ago. I really think Caminero is a game changer. In your redraft leagues, if you're taking him at that 1-2 turn, I'm not mad at it. Just pair him with somebody that's safe and that has a little bit of speed, and you'll probably wind up being rock solid. Caminero is somebody that I'm projecting to be even better than he was last year. In 2025 to be in 2026. I think the batting average could take a step up. I think he could be, even like a 275, type bat. The power is absolutely legitimate. I don't even know where the ceiling lands for a kid who hit 45 home runs as a 21-year-old. All the underlying stuff looks great for power for Caminero. So no reason to be, not excited to take Junior this year. Like I said, I want to pair him with somebody that's a little bit more safe. It's really tough because at that point in the draft, I mean, Acuna's risky. I like Julio Rodriguez a lot, and I know Matt does too. Maybe that's a move if you could do that at the 11-12 turn. I don't like pairing Caminero with either Skeens, Skubal or Crochet. Skeens and Skubal are going a lot closer to where Caminero is. Even a Tatis, maybe do a Tatis Caminero. Not too mad at that, but that could get ugly real quick with injuries and, underperforming. So it is kind of tough there. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. I'm looking at ADP there. It's not really maybe I move Kyle Tucker up than where he's being drafted. Maybe Kyle Tucker, Caminero is a little bit safer because we know no matter what, Kyle Tucker will be good. He might be just lacking in one or two categories, but Kyle Tucker will be good overall. Maybe do something like that. I do like Caminero. I just want to make sure I'm being safe when I'm taking him up at the top there. But before I move on, and I talk about one of the most interesting names I saw when it comes to ADP, that's Zach Neto. We got Ben Rice. We got the Pasquantino. Then we get into pitching, and we talk about Christopher Sanchez and where he's being drafted. Ooh, boy, oh boy, this is a great episode. Those names and more coming up next. And all right, guys, before we move on, I need to talk to you about my friends over at Game Time. Listen, NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But actually getting tickets, that's the tough part. Queues, login screens, surprise fees, it takes all the fun out of it. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. The app, makes it super simple. I could even see the exact view from the seat I was going to be sitting in before I bought the tickets. And just the fees are included, so there's going to be no surprise when you get to checkout. And I was just looking at the app not too long ago, and there's great deals on there. I'm talking about your favorite NFL games as low as $100. And then they got the zone deals too, where you're going to pick the section and Game Time picks the seats, and you're going to save big. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any way I've ever bought tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. And, you can spell that out, LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. And folks, just wanted to say one more time, thank all of you for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast out there. And guys, it just means so much, to make all of you helped make us the #1 sports podcast network. It really just means so much, guys, and truly appreciate all the love. But let's keep things pushing. And the real reason that you guys are here, the baseball content, 2026 drafts are a lot closer than we think. And let's talk about one of the most shocking draft ADPs that I've seen so far, Zach Neto. I'm a huge Zach Neto fan. I want to preface that by saying this. I know I've talked about Zach Neto recently and said he is somebody I will be all in on in 2026, and you guys should be too. That was until I saw the ADP. The ADP, Zach Neto in early drafts is coming off the board at pick 33 on average. Now, that's really high. That's really high. That's about a third round pick, and in average leagues. And I don't know if I could do it. I have Netto ranked as my number 8 shortstop, and according to this ADP, I mean, there's still a lot of shortstops going really early, so I get it. Where he falls under the shortstop. They have him as the 6th shortstop. I have him as the 8th shortstop. I'm trying to see where we're off. I know Mookie Betts is the name that I'm going to talk about here in a second. Corey Seager. I have Corey Seager over Netto, which maybe I'll wind up switching. Who knows? But ADP on Seager is really crazy at 94. But ADP at 33 for Zach Neto and 42 for Mookie Betts. I mean, the performances last year were very different, and I know Netto is somebody who I think is on the verge of breaking out. I just truly didn't think that we were going to have to pay this high of a price for Netto. We'll talk about what he did last year. Zach Neto was a 24-year-old last season, 128 games played, 502 at-bats, 82 runs, 29 doubles, a triple, 26 bombs, 62 RBIs, 26 steals, and hit 257. Really great numbers. He was awesome. I had him in a lot of leagues. I think, like I said, he's just going to be somebody who, 35 upside if he could play in 150 games. And I really think the batting average is something that he can improve on as well. Just because, he's shown it down the stretch. He's shown it in small sample sizes. So my bottom line here with Netto is, as good as he projects to be and as good as I, know that he is it really worth it to pay the potential 3rd round pick for Netto on the hopes that he continues on the same path and the breakout, same breakout path that he's on, has been on? It's a risky move. Let's look at some of the names that are going around Netto. You have Ketel Marte. I like them both. Netto can match Marte potentially. You got Manny Machado going a little bit later. I'd probably take Machado over Netto. Yordan Alvarez would definitely take him over Netto. Mookie Betts is a great conversation. Bryce Harper's going a little bit later. So, I mean, you have a lot of solidified, bats like the Machados, the Harpers, the Jordans, the guys that we've seen do it for years versus Netto, who, yes, also was good in 2024. We haven't seen him hit over 260 in the bigs. The 2020, I think, is guaranteed, is a lock. And then how good will this Angels team be for his counting stats, right? So we'll see where, we'll see where it really winds up landing here with Netto ADP at where you have to draft him. I think if you could get him a couple rounds later, the 5th round, I think that's going to be a lot better. But we'll see. If it's a 3rd round, I'm honestly probably not doing it. We'll leave it at that. Let's move on. Let's do one more bat before we get into the arms. Let's talk about the Pasquatch, my boy, Vinnie Pasquantino. Finally has a really strong, full, pretty much healthy season, right? And what does that get him? The ADP of the 10th first baseman off the board. I think that's where we make our money, right? This is how you do well in fantasy baseball. You kind of identify, spots where you could take a guy and he's going to return better value than where you're taking him. And I think Vinnie Pasquantino can do that easily. As a 27-year-old, he played in 160 games this past season, 621 at-bats, 72 runs, 33 doubles, a triple, 32 homers, 113 RBIs, and he hit 264. I don't think the batting average gets as high as we thought it would be. Potentially in years past, I mean, I thought Vinny P could be like a 280, 290 guy with 30 plus homers. Never did it. I mean, still only going to be 28 next year. Is there a chance? Yes. Is it a high chance? No. I still think Vinny P, 270, 30 homers, the 100 RBIs. I even think the runs could be a little bit better. I think this Royals team is only getting better. But yeah, man, just 30 and 100 and 265 and, only the 10th first baseman. Ben Rice and Josh Naylor are over him. I don't think I would take either one of those guys over the Pasquatch. You look at Freddie Freeman. Yeah, probably still doing Freeman over Vinny P. But I think that conversation is going to be a lot closer than, in this upcoming year than anyone cares to talk about. Just because Freddie Freeman is going to be 36 years old. He still did hit 24 home runs last year and hit 295 with 81 runs and 90 RBIs. But that's a lot of this Dodgers team carrying him, to be honest with you, with the counting stats. And yeah, he still did hit 295, but only 24 homers. It's 8 less than Vinny P. So, when it's also, what is that, 23 less RBIs? So I don't know. I still probably lean Freeman over Pasquatch, but once again, that's a lot closer of a conversation than most people actually are willing to and want to have. But before we move on and we get into the pitching portion of this episode and we talk Christopher Sanchez, Chris Sale, and a lot more fun names coming up next. And all right, guys, the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action other than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of a game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So you're going to head over to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. And I want to help you guys make that first $5 bet count. So you know what we're betting on this time? We're doing the Lakers. We're going to bet on the Lakers because they've been playing great so far this season. Austin Reeves, points and rebounds. Luka, the Don, you want to do points, rebounds, assist with him. And, even the King, LeBron James, assists have been good with him of late. And, points is tough, but maybe we could do defensive stats with LeBron. And, once again, we're going to do all of that on FanDuel.com or on the app. And they are an official sports betting partner of the NBA. And all right, let's jump back into it. And, like I said, the ranking the draft price of Zach Neto made me, jump off the screen a little bit to me. There was one pitcher that really did as well. And that was Christopher Sanchez of the Philadelphia Phillies. And coming off a career season, he's coming off the board at pick 34 on average, and that's just crazy to me. That makes him the SP7 overall, and I mean, yeah, he was great last year, and the underlying stuff does back a lot of what he did. It's just only one season, and it's not like he's a Garrett Crochet kind of guy, or he's still super young or anything. It's tough for me to buy, the age 29 breakout. As much as some of the underlying stuff, a lot of the underlying stuff did look really, really good for Christopher Sanchez. He doesn't have an overwhelming fastball. The fastball only, sits, or is just sinker rather, only sits at, 95. It was up from 2024, but once again, is he going to be able to keep those, velocity gains year over year? A guy who legitimately was throwing only 92 as far as back as 2023. And he's getting older, age 29 here, this 2026. The 32 starts, it was a 2.50 ERA for Sanchez, 202 innings, 212 strikeouts, a 1.06 whip. He's a career 1.16 whip guy. He was a 1.24 whip guy in 2024. The FIP was a 2.55. I mean, I don't know, man. Everything about this screams outlier year to me. It just truly does. I think Sanchez will still be good. I think he'll be very good. I think he could be a low threes ERA guy. I think he can give you the 180 innings. I don't know if he stays over that K per 9. He's never really done that before in his career. Career 535 innings in the bigs, 509 strikeouts. So I don't know if I'm buying the uptick in strikeouts either, to be honest with you. I wouldn't be shocked if I'm throwing this out there. I wouldn't be shocked if Christopher Sanchez threw it to a 3.27 ERA, 190 innings, 190 strikeouts, and he had a 1.19 whip. That's not an SP1. I cannot do it. I cannot be convinced. You can't talk me into it. I'm sorry. You have Logan Gilbert going after him, and Logan Gilbert is an absolute bona fide ace. I'm just, this one was aggravating to me, guys. I'm sorry, or guys, gals, whoever. Hunter Green's going after him. I'll take DeGrom over him. Brian Wu had a better breakout year than Sanchez did last year. Logan Webb, who's been steady for years at this point, take him. I'll take Cole Reagan's upside over. Just don't get me started. I have Christopher Sanchez ranked way lower. Well, no, I actually put Christopher Sanchez at 12, and honestly, that was just out of respect. I'm in my eyes just looking at my own rankings. I've moved Christopher Sanchez down to 15 just without even thinking about it, and I think that's more of where it should be going. If you want to take a risk on a Christopher Sanchez, do it at an SP2, not an SP1. Let's leave it at that. I can talk about this a lot longer, but we're going to leave it there. Let's move on. Talk about Chris Sale. Chris Sale, it's the opposite thing of Christopher Sanchez. I don't fear the performance. I fear the health. I think the other shoe's going to fall off here for Sale at some point. It's been a great going here in Atlanta for Sale, his first couple of seasons. And even though he did deal with injury last year, which limited him to, bear with me, I know he did not throw a lot of innings last year, but they were good innings last year. It was 125 innings for Sale. The year before in 2024 was 177 innings. So as a 37-year-old too, you got to figure he's going to, get a little bit worse at some point here, Sale will. And even if it's not that, it's, injury issues, and you have to take risk. Sale as your SP1 this year. Sale's coming off the board right around Christopher Sanchez and Zach Neto. It's like pick 33, 34 on average. And I can't risk it as my SP1. I'd rather have Sale than Christopher Sanchez. Easy. I'll tell you that right now. But still not taking Sale as my SP1, just not doing it. Same reasons, as far as the guys after him, I'd rather have over him. But just I feel like injury is going to be a big thing for Sale. And I don't know how much he has left in the tank at age 37. I think he will be very good while he's out there. But we're lucky if we get another 20 starts from him in 2026. And we'll kind of just leave it at that because I kind of want to dig into these next couple of guys a little bit because this is where more we're going to make our money. I did 2 guys I didn't like the ADP on. We just do 2 guys I do like the ADP on. Let's do Gavin Williams, starting pitcher, Cleveland Guardians, and kind of just got buried here. He's coming off the board at pick 145. That's around SP 50, I think. If I'm not mistaken, because they got a bunch of you can't separate starting pitchers from closers or relief pitchers when you're looking at ADP on NFBC. So that looks like around SP 50-ish to me, maybe a little bit higher. But the thing is, just Gavin Williams was really good last year, especially down the stretch. The whip wasn't. I'll read you the numbers overall. The wins was good. 12 wins, 5 losses for Gavin Williams. A 3.06 ERA was great. 31 starts, 167 innings, 173 strikeouts, 1.27 whip. The walks were a killer for Gavin Williams, man. But, the thing is that, like I said, he was really good down the stretch. And I kind of just want to talk about how good he was, in his last few starts. And before we move on, I do want to sneak this one guy in, but we're cutting it close on time today. So before he started really, finding his stride here, actually, to be honest with you, I want to do it from here because it looks like he was better, a lot better for longer than I thought. So Gavin Williams over his last 20 starts, right? He had 115 innings pitched. He had 113 strikeouts, 2.50 ERA, and he was just really good over that stretch, right? Just he was really, really coming out with some nasty stuff. He honestly finished the season with the last month 7-inning start against Tampa Bay with it was only 3 strikeouts, but only 3 walks, and he was really good in that one. Had 12 strikeouts in his last start of the season against the Tigers. That was over 6 innings, 2 walks, 4 hits, and had a 9 strikeout game against the Tigers before that. Had a 6 strikeout game against the Royals on 6 hits, 3 walks, 4 hits. Gavin Williams is just a beast down the stretch, and I think we should be able to draft him with confidence this upcoming season. And I want to talk about Trevor Rogers as well. Another guy that I feel like got buried here, even later than Gavin Williams. He's coming off the board at around pick 157. Trevor Rogers dominated last year in a resurgence year where he finally got out of Miami, went over to Baltimore, and was just absolutely he went to Baltimore at the end of 2024, but his first full season there, 18 starts, a 1.81 ERA, 109 innings, 103 strikeouts, 0.9 whip. I don't think he'll be this good again. I know he won't be this good again, but could he be a low to mid threes ERA guy with about a K per 9 and a good whip? He definitely can be. And this Baltimore team, man, let's just hope they're better. Even though he did win 9 games out of his 18 starts, was really good for Trevor Rogers. And his fielding independent pitching, his ERA indicator was a 2.82. So, it kind of shows that Rogers still can be really good. And he's still fairly young, going to be 28 years old. He's 6'5", 217. Just love what Trevor Rogers could do for fantasy baseball purposes this upcoming season. But guys, that is going to be all for today. So, thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen today. For your second listen, go check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. And also make sure you check out the newsletter and the Everydayer Club. Guys, listen, season's getting closer and closer, so make sure you're paying attention, and we appreciate you. So until next time.